Dun, dun, dun. All right. Hey, everybody. This is a new series that I am trying to do for a couple of things, really. I've been getting some review copies from different tabletop role playing game publishers and stuff like that. And the problem is, I tend to read a little slow, so I don't get to read through all the stuff that gets sent to me and review them. But the companies are sending me this stuff, and I want to do something for them when they do this because I think they make some great stuff. It's just that with me being a slow reader and then having all these other responsibilities, like, having a family, having a job, and, running all these role playing games, my free time and the little that I have, things like that. I just don't have a lot of time to be able to go through and dedicate myself to reading all the books that they send me and doing like a formal review. But as I mentioned, I want to do something to show my appreciation and still show off the things that they have sent me. So I think what I want to do regularly is do something called Scrywall Sundays, where I can take whatever was sent to me recently from a company and at least kind of preview and show it off in the stream, so that way we can kind of take a look at it together, just kind of do like first impressions or things like that, and give everybody opportunity to be able to just kind of get like maybe a sneak peek or a quick look at what they sent. And so that way we can kind of get try to spotlight those things that is being sent my way and be able to at least get familiar with what they sent. So for my very first Scrywall Sunday, I am going to show off a couple things that was sent to me by Free League, which is a fantastic Swedish company that has created games like Dragonbane, the Alien RPG that is so popular that I keep hearing people talk about. Mutant Year Zero is the engine that they come up with, and create a lot of games around that engine. But one of the other games that they have created that they're well known for is Vaesen, which, if you're not familiar with Vaesen is a folklore gothic horror kind of game. If you've ever seen or played anything like Candela Obscura, it's kind of that same sort of vibe. In fact, I think Candela Obscura got a lot of inspiration from there. But here is the core rule book in case you want to get a sense of this. This is actually probably a great game to have for Halloween, which I know we're now after Halloween. But again, fantastic stuff in here that I have looked through, again, very briefly and saw and all that. But if you ever play Candela Obscura, it's pretty similar to this, where you have a set of D6s that you would use to play. So Free League has sent me a few things here that I'm going to show off to you all today. So this is actually the core rule book that they have sent me. I've actually owned this one already before they sent this to me, but I have this, and then they also sent me their two newest books for Vaesen. This one is Mythic Carpathia, which is one that was started on Kickstarter, that just got released, I think, a few weeks ago. And then the other one as well too is City of My Nightmares. And then if you are somebody that really enjoys like starter sets, they also sent me a starter set for Vaesen as well too, which would be really cool. So let's go ahead and start with the starter set, and then we'll go through our ways through looking at the books that they sent me as well too. So let me go ahead and switch over to my unboxing camera here. So you can already see here, and apologize for the reflection here and all that. That's what you get when you got plastic wrap. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this open. And I'm really intrigued to see what the starter set, what's in here, because from my understanding, a lot of Vaesen can be done with Theater of the Mind. So I'm curious to see what they would include in the starter set that would be really enticing for people if they ever want to play Vaesen, and using the starter set to kind of get started in that. So again, it's called a Nordic horror role playing. It uses a lot of Nordic folklore in this game. And I apologize, it looks like there's a little bit of delay here, so if that's the case, I apologize here. But looking at the back, ooh, this is actually, we get to see what's already in the starter set by looking at the back here. Looks like it comes with condensed rules for action, skill tests, combat, damage, and fear, which is really cool. I know their Dragonbane set came with the whole rule book and everything. So this looks like this is a condensed rules. So you don't get the whole book in here, but at least it's enough to help you get started. The complete introductory mystery, The Haunting of Castle Gillenkreutz, letting the players explore the headquarters of the society itself. Codex Occultum of the Society's old journal of Vaesen to be used as a resource for the players. 5 pre-gen and illustrated player characters. A large full-color map with the Mythic North and on one side and the town of Uppsala on the other, which I think that was really cool. So you get to see a map of the area that you're going to be playing in. A map of Castle Gillenkreutz. 3 handout sheets, 5 rules reference cards, 10 initiative cards. That's very similar to Dragonbane. Basically, you would deal out the initiative cards and then you would flip it over and whatever number you get, that's the order you go in for initiative. And then 10 engraved custom dice for the game. Awesome. And then it even has a content warning description right here as well too. The old folk tales often express dark and mature themes, and thus the Vaesen RPG explores these themes as well. This is a horror game and not suitable for children, at least not without the game master first modifying the content. I absolutely appreciate them doing that. So, yeah, it says 4 to 6 players for ages 14 and older. 180 minutes. That's interesting. Sorry, you probably can't see that right here. Yeah. But down here, yeah, 180 plus minutes. So, let's go ahead and open this up and check this out and look at all that's in here after reading the description. I'm really curious. I want to know what that artwork is of, because that's a really cool. That's just a really cool artwork here to have at the front of your box. So, because we know that art really helps with selling RPGs. I know that's what got me into Dragonbane, is because they have the Darkwing Duck character on the front here. All right, so here are the dice, and again, this is used a series of D6s that you would use. This is really cool. So this is it uses pips for the numbers. But you got 6 right here, so it kind of stands out, and you see that there are 6 pips on that one as well too. So that is a really cool design there. These are the initiative cards. Again, I haven't played Vaesen, so I'm going to bring my microphone here a little bit closer so you can hear me better. I haven't played Vaesen, so I don't know how initiative exactly works, but I have played Dragonbane, which is actually what you've seen here for the game catalog. Dragonbane works the same way, where instead of rolling for initiative, you just take the deck of initiative cards and you just hand it out randomly, and then you turn it over. And again, if it's like Dragonbane, at the end of every round, you shuffle it up and re-deal them when you do that, which means that every round you get like a new initiative order, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and open this, and then we'll slide it back in here. Now, one thing I remember with Dragonbane that I wish they had, and I don't think this will be an issue here, but Dragonbane Starter Kit, starter set, they had a bunch of cards in there, but they didn't really have a container for you to put it in. So when you put it back in the starter set box, the cards just fly everywhere, and it looks like this is actually reusable, so you can use this to kind of keep it contained and all that. But I did find for the Dragonbane set, like this little, it looks like it's like a generic, like hard plastic deck of card holder that you can put in here, that you could probably do the same here as well too if you wanted to. But the cards are really nice, 1 through 10, I think. Yeah, 1 through 10 here. So again, you just deal these out with initiative order, and at the end of the round, you would actually pick them back up, reshuffle, and deal them back out again to get a new initiative order at the top of every round. So it's not the same order every time you go. So let me go ahead and try to get this back in here real quick. Perfect. Like every starter set, this comes with a games catalog, so you can see what kind of games they have in here. Just open up to Vaesen. Some Barroom, which I've heard some really great things. So this is something that they've also sent me as well too. Invincible is the new RPG game that's coming out. This one came out, Outgun Adventure, I think earlier this year, without like a whole lot of fanfare, it seems like. Which is unfortunate, because this looks like this would be actually, sorry, I realize you can't see this. This looks like this would be a lot of fun. It kind of has that Indiana Jones vibe to it, but I just haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. The Electric State, I think this is one that had a Netflix show or movie that came out. Oh, I'm sorry, Tales of the Loop was the one that had the Netflix movie that came out. Let's see here. And then the Walking Dead universe, everybody has talked about that. I've heard them talk about that. Twilight 2000. Forbidden Lands, this is actually something that I've heard. A couple of my buddies have told me that they really enjoyed that. Mutant Year Zero, that's the engine I was talking about that they use for a lot of their games. Morkborg. And then let's go to the beginning here. The One Ring. This actually came into news lately because I forget the name of the company that bought out the rights to the Middle Earth gaming and properties and stuff like that. Gosh, I forget the name of the company, but it's not Free League. So right now they're still making the One Ring. They can still make One Ring in Lord of the Rings 5e supplements and stuff like that, but that might change like sometime in the future. So if you see these, you want to try these out, definitely try this out and get one while you're out. I actually have the starter set for the One Ring that I need to open up, so maybe that'll be a future Scrywall Sunday that I'll do here. Dragonbane, again, one of my favorite games. I love playing. This is a really cool game. And then Coriolis, this is actually the first version I think they have, and then they had Kickstarter for like the sci-fi version that they had here as well too. So, all right, so that is their games catalog. And then let's go ahead and take a look at what's in here. This looks like this is like the condensed rules. Oh, actually, no, this is just a one page to kind of tell you what's all in here about how to get started. Pretty simple. Decide who's the game master. And then as game master, you read the rules booklet and the Haunting of Castle Gillincrutch, which is the mystery and adventure that you would play. And then let each player pick one of the pre-gen player character sheets, including the box set, and then you just start playing. Oh, that's cool. And then this is the mythic level Kickstarter backers that they put the names of the people who supported this on Kickstarter at the high tier. So really cool. All right, one of the things I love about Free League is the art style that they have for a lot of their games. Vaesen and Dragonbane definitely has the same kind of gothic, mythic feel to this artwork, and this is pretty similar as well too. So this is the rules core book that we have here, and it's pretty nice. This is, you can see in here in the video that this is laminated. It's a really nice condensed version. It's not like a hardback or anything like that, but this is still really nice to have as a part of the core set here. So let me see. All right, so you got the introduction, you got the player characters. It tells you a little bit about each one. Making skill tests, when to roll. Sixes mean success. You then got combat and damage and conditions. And then this is about, for a condensed rules set, this is not very long. This is actually about 15 pages long if you look through this. So this is really cool. So this is probably something like if I decide to run Vaesen, I'll probably use this just to kind of run it once and get started and see how that goes. And because this is really accessible to really just pick up and look through and then to refer to it quickly versus having the large rule book, which if I pull it back up here again. All right, I'm sure this comes with a lot more, but you can see here just how condensed it is, just looking at the spines for each of these books here as well too. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that over here. But that is the condensed rule book. And then this is the adventure that it comes with, the Haunting of Castle Gillincrutch. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. See if I can get my fingers in here. And then if you're hoping to play this at some point, look away now so that way you don't get it spoiled. But let's see here. Let's see how many pages this is as well too. This is also pretty short. So, but if we look at the contents here, you get the background, the invitation, so probably how it starts. The inciting incident, the burger and the baker, meeting Linnea to the castle, arrival, and then the castle garden, and then Castle Gillincrutch. So this is probably like, setting up like the backstory and with everything. And then this is the main chapters for the adventure, I'm assuming, or maybe when they get to Castle Gillincrutch. So maybe this is actually the whole adventure here, but separated out into 3 different chapters. And then the confrontation, the occult temple, the will-o'-the-wisp, Manfred asks the deed and conclusion. So obviously we got the GM's eyes only. So that way, if you don't want this spoiled for you again, you don't have to read through that yet until you play it. Yeah, nice. I mean, and again, this is actually pretty accessible and readable as a adventure that you can just pull out and start reading through and all that. So I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out if you just grab this as a starter set and picked it up and go. But this is really cool. And then, again, the artwork is fantastic here. So yeah, so this is really cool. So imagine getting a brand new TTRPG, but all the stuff, the books and everything are very thin just to get started here. All right. 16 pages, 16 pages. Like, that is very doable. That's very accessible. Very well designed, just in the fact that now you can try to play a brand new game and it's no longer overwhelming, because those things are, not only are they small in terms of page number, but they're really readable from a user experience, from a UX point of view as well too. So, all right, so then we got the Codex Occultum. Again, if you plan on playing this, look away. But this looks like this is kind of like this is kind of like a reference book, like a lore book. Almost. Oh, this is really cool. So obviously there's creatures in here, and then each creature has a section called Banishment. So, and Banishment is like how you get rid of them. What's really cool about Vaesen that I have heard people talk about is that Vaesen is one of these games where you can't just solve everything by going in and just, going to combat and violence and killing them right away, because you have to find out what makes a creature tick, what makes them vulnerable, and then do that thing to help get rid of them. So there might be creatures out there that are completely vulnerable to any sort of attacks or damage or things like that. But if you maybe like put on a coat backwards and then you walk around in a circle 3 times in front of them, then that banishes them, right? And so I think that's what this is like, this gives you a quick look at each of these kinds of creatures, and then how you can actually banish them or get rid of them here as well too. So again, the artwork is just fantastic. So cool. You can pull this into any of the games that you're playing. It doesn't have to be Vaesen. It could be any other kind of gothic horror kind of game that you're playing. The Mare, the Myling Creepy Child. I'm sure people would love to see that. The Neck. Look at that. This is like a golem looking kind of creature that's playing the violin. Like, this is, oh my gosh. And so this is totally like, similar to Red Cap and D&D. And just in terms of style and look and everything, but this is really cool. Like, the artwork in RPGs, this really inspires you on, the kind of vibes that you're going for. So, but yeah, so this is the Codex Occultum. So this is kind of like the, like the monster book type of thing. And then what we got here? Ooh, I like this. So these are little like play cards for your players, so that way they can see the kinds of things that they can do in the game. So talks to them about skill tests, about helping, pushing, slow and fast actions, which I don't know what that is, movement, attacking, dodging and parrying, which dodging and parrying is a thing in Dragon Maid as well too, so I'm kind of curious to see how this works here. Conditions and fear. So this is a really nice kind of a cheat sheet to let players know how you would actually be able to do these things in the game, obviously, because these are probably actual mechanics that you use in the game. Here's the stuff that you don't want your dogs to eat, so I'll put that off to the side. Oh, nice. So for the adventure, they give you little props that you can use as well too. Oh, I love that. See, that's the thing about games, is that you could get crazy detailed, or you can do theater of the mind and just describe everything, but it does have a nice touch when you give them like something physical that's happening in the game. Kind of makes it a little bit, immersive, and gives it that more of a realistic feel to it when you have that. So the fact that they include these in here for your adventure is really cool, because look at this. I mean, it's just like different kinds of signatures, different kind of styles and everything like that. The Shining Fiend. Yeah, this is really cool. So I'm glad they included like props that you can use for this adventure. That's great. All right, and then what I'm going to do here is just going to kind of let this fall out so I get a better grip on this. And it looks like these are the pre-gen character sheets. So this one is Torn Matsies, which is a bloodhound, gain +2 to vigilance when tracking your prey. So it looks like it's a hunter. And then the character sheet is on the other side. So this is really cool. Again, it kind of reminds me of Dragonbane, because they have the same kind of setup, except Dragonbane is probably more like this, because I remember it being portrait, not landscape. But you have like a character art of what your character could look like, the name and a description of who they are, and then you have the character sheet here, and it has relationships in here already. Has the name, age range, archetype, so that's like your class or whatever kind of role that you're playing in this game. The different attributes that you have, things like that. This is really cool. Then they have that for each of the 5 pre-gens that they have here. So we got Tormatsis, which is a bloodhound, or that's actually probably like the feature that they have. I think the archetype was a hunter. Yeah, archetype was a hunter. Then we got Franz Nordenflecht, or Flicht, battle hardened. So my guess is that their archetype is a soldier and officer. So pretty close. But that is pretty cool. Battle hardened. When you are used to battle, when drawing for initiative, draw 2 cards and pick one of them. So that's a really cool. These are like kind of feats that you can have for your character, and that's a really cool one. And that makes sense flavor-wise in terms of the archetype as well too. Otto Nistrom. So this is like a priest or a chaplain. I do remember someone saying that religion's kind of embedded into this system a little bit, so that's something just to kind of be mindful of if you're playing this game. If there's sensitivity issues that you might have with religion, just kind of be mindful of that and kind of get a sense of what you're going to probably going to be experiencing here. But this is, you are a chaplain on a full-rigged ship bound for South America, a defense attorney in New Orleans, a philosophy professor in Hamburg, and a surgeon in London. This guy got around and did a lot of stuff, right? Yeah, priest, so that's the archetype here. So, pretty cool. Selma Nilsdottir, automatic writing. When channeling spirits through automatic writing, you can use inspiration to gain clues. The Game Master provides more or less vague clues, predictions about the future, or momentary insights into the thoughts and experiences of your enemies. Extra successes reveal more clues. On failure, the Game Master decides whether you suffer a condition, become possessed, or undergo a personality change. You decide what kind, so that's cool. So you go through something, but you get to still decide that for your character. You're still in charge of that. That lasts for a few hours. You can use automatic writing once per gaming session. So she seems like she's probably like like an occultist or something like that. I don't know. She's still a writer, but has like a connection with the paranormal apparently. So this is really cool. Okay, then last but not least, on the 5th pre-gen, we got Rasmus Frisk. Hobo tricks is apparently their specialty. Gain 2 to stealth when trying to hide yourself or an object from a wealthy human. So my guess is thief or something like that. Vagabond. There you go. So yeah, so this is really cool in terms of the layout. This seems like it's really easy to find things and to read. And then you got a little description that you can use when you're playing your character here for the pre-gen. So really cool. I really like that. The designs are really nice. It almost makes you not want to play the pre-gen because you want to kind of keep it preserved. So that's the thing about some of these sets sometimes, is that I don't want to use them because I like them too much. So, but I'm sure you can probably go online and like print them off like new ones and all that. So, all right. So then we have the maps here that they talked about. This is the Castle Gillenkutz. So this is definitely like more like a reference thing rather than like a battle map. But this is really cool. So it kind of gives you an idea of what all these things are like and where they can go to and all that. Let's see what's on the back. So there's nothing on the back here. But this kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at on the floor, and then, or I'm sorry, in the building. And then you could probably use like minis or representations to kind of show where each character is at, kind of like the game of Clue. So that's really neat. And then we got the Mythic North map, which this is actually a lot bigger than the Castle Gillenkutz map. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you all this because it is pretty big. But at least let me try to show you. So this is the Mythic North map, the area where a lot of the adventures takes place in Vaesen. And then on the other side is Uppsala, which I believe is a city where the headquarters for Vaesen, I forget the name of the society, but the headquarters is located at. So Really cool. Love this. And this is really nice quality here as well. So yeah, this is honestly, starter set wise, this is actually really cool because it's high quality. The character sheets are very, very good. I really love the artwork on the one side with the description of the character, and then the character sheet itself. It seems like it's very easy to read, easy to locate things, not overwhelming a whole lot. Probably your first time is going to be overwhelming because you're trying to figure out how to play the game. But you got your props here, and you got your move cheat cards here, the kind of reminders of like things you can do in the game. You got your Codex Occultum, which is like the list of monsters that you have in the game. The adventure and the condensed rule book, which again is very accessible, very short in terms of reading, and designed very well. Then you got the course catalog, you got the initiative cards, and you got the dice that you can use. Every player will probably have their own dice. My guess is that this won't be enough for everybody to have their own dice, but this is probably all that you need for one player to roll. My guess is you're more than likely not going to be rolling at the same time, but that is actually something really cool to see. So that is the Vaesen Starter Set, and I can't remember if they have had one before or not. I feel like this might be new. But that actually is really cool. I think this is probably a really great design in terms of creating a starter set for an RPG. Especially if it's one that's not like a D20 fantasy kind of game. Although their Dragonbane game is fantastic for the starter set as well too. But this is really cool. It's very again, I really like the design of everything from a UX experience to the graphic design and stuff like that. The fact that the condensed rules set is in a 16-page format just makes it easy to get started and just play something in this one shot and just kind of see if you like this and everything. And then that hopefully will motivate you to get the full core rule book, which is absolutely thicker. I don't know. My guess is they probably have some. They have more in here. Yeah, they have like 10 ready-to-use archetypes in here. Probably tell you how to create your own characters. And then an introductory mystery called the Dance of Dreams. So this also comes with an adventure that you can do in here as well too. So this gets you started, and then if you like it and want to do more of this, then picking this up, you can do a lot more. So this is actually really cool. I like it. So. Oh! Of course, I'm going to knock this thing over. All right, let me switch over to this here real quick so I can rebalance my camera. Okay. I'm going to switch over here just to kind of get a sense of what we're looking at here. Okay. Actually, I think this will work pretty well. All right. So let me go ahead and switch back over and show you the other two books that I mentioned earlier. City of My Nightmares. This actually looks like I didn't start opening this at all. It's just kind of, it came like this, kind of like has some extra plastic wrapping up here. So this just kind of makes it easier to grab and pull apart here. But as I mentioned, this was actually part of their Kickstarter that they launched either earlier this year or late last year. And what's really cool is I have some of these other books as well too, so I'll have to do another Scrywall Sunday to kind of show this off, because they sent this to me a while back. But they actually have different themed like adventure setting books here. The ones I have is based in Britain, based in Ireland, I believe, and then they have one that's like winter theme as well too. So that'd be a really cool one to do during the winter or during Christmas or the holidays and things like that. City of My Nightmares. I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. Did you think you were safe from the Vaesen in the crowds and lights of the city? Think again, unspeakable horrors lurk in the dark alleys, crawl underneath the cobblestone streets, or soar through the twilight skies above. This is a full-length campaign. Okay, so this is a campaign book in 4 parts for the multiple award-winning Vaesen Nordic horror role-playing. In this bone-chilling tale, the characters are invited to the capital. Okay, that's what Uppsala is. Okay, now it's coming back to me. Again, it's been a while. I remember reading into this. And I really loved it, but because I hadn't had a chance to play or anything like that, some of the details are lost on me. But Uppsala is the capital that a lot of this is taking place at. are invited to the capital to investigate a series of grisly murders, only to become embroiled in much deeper mystery involving the origins of the society itself and threatening to throw the city into utter chaos. I wonder if this is just called the Society. Maybe they don't have a name. Kind of like how Candela Obscura is the name of the society. My guess is in Vaesen it's just called the Society, and you know what it means or what they're referring to. So, City of My Nightmares, gloriously illustrated by Johan Ergekrans, which I apologize if I mispronounced that, and Anton Vitus, is set in 19th century Stockholm, but can be adapted to London, Prague, or any Gothic metropolitan of the era. This hardback volume includes a separate large map of Stockholm with a huge newspaper handout, format 400 by 558 millimeters. Nice. Okay, so we'll just kind of look at the beginning here, look what's in here. And again, if you're planning on playing in this at some point, and you don't want it ruined for you, go ahead and look away, because I am going to be showing parts of the book. But let's go ahead and take a look at the table of contents, and then I'll show off like one thing that sounds interesting to me here. So, contents. Okay, we got the introduction, Scent of a Killer, Song to the Moon, The Haunted Library, City of My Nightmares, and handouts. Nice. Then we got a preface here from the writer, I believe, the Kiku Poke Herenstam. I am, again, apologize if I mispronounced that by any means whatsoever. I'm sure I butchered your name, so I really, really apologize for that. But this is really cool looking already. Okay, so with the table of contents, let's go ahead and take a look at the handouts. The handouts are always like a fun thing to look at here as well too, right? So the handouts are on page 106. Okay, so again, these are like props that you can use in your campaign game that you're using. So again, Free League is usually pretty good about making these available online for you to print out, I believe. So I wonder if if you don't want to like rip this out from your book or anything like that, you can always go and copy it somewhere. But if you don't have a copier, you could probably download it somewhere and print it out as well. But this looks like the letters and train tickets that you would have, a drawing that you can use. Like, I really enjoy it when they include props like this that you can use. So that way it kind of saves you some time, but, because they're paying people to create these with graphic design skills and stuff like that, this makes it look a lot more authentic than what some people can do. So we got more letters and notes that can give you some secrets and clues. The portrait of Vesper Sternkorns. Again, apologize if I mispronounced that. A burnt page, a newspaper clipping. We got a map of the catacombs that you can use. Another letter from the Lysander cork factories. Or Lysander. Floor relief. The doors. So some of these are more like visual aids than they are like actual handouts that you give out to your party, but still really cool to be able to kind of immerse them in this campaign by providing those to them. So then we have the poster advertising the Matinee Physicale. I'm not entirely sure what that means or what that is. So according to particularly rich, my guess is probably like a theater show or something like that. The voice of the people must be heard. So this is a flyer announcing the protest. So this is a protest. Of course, you need to have a conflict in here. Nice. And then here is like a little city gazette. Oh, nice. Okay, so this is not something that you have to rip out. It's just kind of tucked in the back here. But look at this. Imagine playing this game and you hand out like an actual little newspaper thing to your party that they can take a look at. But like, this is what the city gazette kind of looks like here. It'd be really cool if they have like different clues that's kind of hidden here that your party can look at. And then they got the, you see the map here. There's a bigger version of the map right here as well too for Stockholm. So really cool. The handouts are a really nice touch. I love those. So we didn't get to see the adventure, a lot of the things in the adventure here. Let's do a quick flip and see if there's anything. Oh, something's on fire. See if anything kind of pulls my attention here real quick. Love these monster art. Look at that. That is just so gruesome. That's so crazy. I love it. See, art really makes the difference in terms of, pulling people in. So that's why I'm always supportive of people using art in their work and using humans to create their artwork. Thank you very much. And I know Free League has been very, very vocal about that, about using humans for all their stuff that they create as well too. So you got like I think little NPCs that gives you some stat blocks here of like things that they can do and stuff like that. I'm assuming it's NPCs. They could be pre-gens maybe, but if not, then those are NPCs that you could probably refer to as well too. And the maps look really great as well. Scent of a Killer, nice, perfect, really cool book, really cool. Hope I get to play that at some point. And last but not least, we got Mythic Carpathia. Carpathia. Love how this is like a huge man bat on the front. You don't get really any gothic-y than that. Gothicer. Not sure how you would say that, but you can get more gothic than that with a huge bat the size of a man standing on top of like a gothic steeple with blood coming out of its mouth. Ugh. All right. So same thing here. We'll open the table of contents, see what we have in here. Do first glance, look through, and all that. Oh. See? We're dealing with death already. Let's see here. So we got the credits here. Johan is the writer for this one as well, too. Johan is a really popular guy for Free League. He's been writing some great stuff. All right, Mythic Carpathia. So we got that. We got the Carpathian Society. I am butchering that name. I apologize. Let's read the back like I did for the other one. So, venture into Mythic Carpathia to face vampires, Rusalkas, Baba Yaga, and other even stranger horrors of Central and Eastern European folklore. So the other one's based in Sweden, Stockholm. This one is based in Central and Eastern European, so a little bit a more broad place here. Wander the busy streets of Prague, where history and myth collide. Visit old cities, deep forests, and high mountains to face creatures beyond belief. This beautifully illustrated hardback, which it's always beautifully illustrated here, expansion to the award-winning Vaesen Nordic horror role-playing includes information about the Carpathia branch of the society, a gazetteer of the city of Prague, a chapter with local Vaesen, and 3 complete mysteries to play. Okay, so this is like a setting with adventures they could do. So City of Nightmares sounds like it's more like a campaign. This is one that's a little bit more setting based, but has 3 adventures that you can run that you could probably turn into a campaign if you want to do that way as well too. Let's see here. Key features. Information about the Carpathian society called Pravda and its founders and headquarters in Prague. The new archetype Vampire Hunter. Gotta love that. A chapter detailing no less than 16 local mythical beings, each with the background stats and story seeds. These include Vampire, Golem, the infamous Baba Yaga, and many more. 3 new complete mysteries to play in Prague, Ukraine, and Transylvania. I mean, if you got a Vampire Hunter archetype, you got to do Transylvania, right? And a large, separate, full-color map of Mythic Carpathia and the city of Prague. All right, so that is what we read on the back. So this is really cool already. You can see that this is different from City of Nightmares, My Nightmares, or a couple of different ways. So table of contents looks like, just like what they talk about here, is like this is kind of like the setting area. This talks about the Carpathian society. The Vaesen of Carpathia, so the different monsters that you can probably, or creatures that you can pull in here. I don't know what the technical term they use for Vaesen, and Vaesen for that. And then these must be the 3 adventures: the Treaty of Blood, the Gathering Storm, and the Secret of the Marala. And then they got handouts on page 127. So I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the handouts because that is something I really enjoy. Then I'm going to check out the Vaesen Carpathia because you always want to check out the monsters that you have there, or the creatures, right? So handout starts at page 127. So let's go ahead and perfect. All right, so same thing here. We got handouts that you can use for your adventures. We got the letter here. Brawling Valley, nice. You got the 2 letters. See, this is where it would be nice to have a PDF because then you can kind of blow this up and make it a little bit darker. The contrast is makes it a little bit hard to read. It makes it authentic, but definitely makes it hard to read. My guess is inside the book, inside the adventure itself, probably has it written out completely. So we got more letters. We got first page from the treatise on apparitions of spirits, and you got the second page. Obviously, clues that you can use here. We got more letters and more excerpts. Nice. Awesome. Okay, so these are more letters that you can kind of pull in here. And then just like the last book, we have a little map of the area of Mythic Carpathia. I'm never going to get that right. I'm sorry, Free League. But you got a map here. And again, this is very, very reminiscent of what we see in Dragonbane as well, too. I talk about Dragonbane all the time, but the Gothic art style is really cool. And it's very, very similar to what we see in Dragonbane. And then we have another map on the back here as well, too, of a Mythic Prague. Nice. Awesome. And again, I appreciate that they don't attach it to the book. That comes, just kind of tucked in, because I know that I am somebody, I will accidentally rip pages if it's kind of, attached to the book in any way, shape, or form. All right, let's see here. Let's go to page 35. Let's check out some creatures that they have here in this book. Again, I don't know all the mechanics to how this all works. In Vaesen, I had a kind of a loose idea on them. So, all right, so we got Baba Yaga. So here's what's interesting so far that we see in the creatures here. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So to say, it didn't seem like we got like stat blocks, but we actually do have stat blocks here, it looks like. So we got Baba Yaga. We have like kind of like an immersive, description, probably from like a famous character in the world of Vaesen. A description of the creature Baba Yaga. Sorry, the artwork just looks so crazy. I love this so much. And then we got a ritual. The stove inside Baba Yaga's hut can be turned into a weapon against her. Oh, nice. Okay. Lure her into the stove and quickly shut the door to seal her inside. Baba Yaga will be trapped, unable to use her powers to escape. And then examples of conflicts. And then we have a stat block for her as well, too. So we got the characteristics. We got magical powers. Got combat, what they can do. Range. Interesting. Okay, cool. And then conditions. My guess is conditions that they could probably invoke here as well, too. And then the secret. This is, excuse me, this is really cool. And then we got Baba. Look at that. This is like a Krampus-looking character. Baba, not entirely sure how to pronounce that, will completely disappear if the stolen child is not only well-behaved, but also dressed in adult clothes. See, very interesting. Like, those are the kinds of things that you can discover along the way when you're playing. Dampier. Obviously, very similar to Vampire, I believe. Let's listen. Yeah, vampires seduce mortal women, resulting in the birth of Dampiers. Oh, okay. So this is actually, my lore is actually way off on this. So Dampiers are usually die at birth, but those who survive are neither human nor vampire, but half-breeds of both species. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, my lore is just way off here. So I think I just made the assumption that was a different way of saying vampire, but apparently that's what Dampier is, at least in Vaesen. I don't know if it's the same way in other games. So, see, I can see a player be like, I want to be a Dampier. Because it's pretty cool to be able to, be kind of like one of these beings in this world. So, look at that. The art. Golem. Homunculus. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Koka Yoroka. Fish people, I believe. Right? Tiny Vaesen with a lizard-like body covered in scales. That's what that is. I am not even sure how I'm going to pronounce that. But this is really cool. So this is what I like about these. Like, they're very long, right? So this is not a short stat block. But again, this game plays very differently, where it's probably not going to be combat in the same sense of how you play some other games. But there's a lot of, social interactions. There's a lot of, investigation and trying to uncover things in its history and stuff like that. So what I really like is it kind of gives you a description of the creature, gives you the stat blocks, but then kind of talk to you about what kind of ritual you can perform to help get rid of this creature, examples of conflicts you could do, and then a secret that they might have as well too. So this kind of gives it a more complete feeling of an actual being that they would be interacting with, and it helps you understand how to run it as a game master as well too for those specific creatures or monsters, however they want to call it. So maybe it's just called Vaesen. Maybe that's the name of their monsters, is that actually these are Vaesen, so which would make sense. But yeah, this is really cool, and the artwork is always fantastic. It's always like vampire. Okay, yeah, so Dampier and vampire. Gee, I don't know who that might be based off of. So really cool, awesome. Yeah, I think this is probably definitely a really good one to use as inspiration for other games as well too. It's not only playing Vaesen, but if you want to get some ideas of like other kinds of creatures, other things that you could probably use if there's a creature like that in your RPG, but you just want to kind of get some other thoughts or other angles on creatures, this would be a great source book for that. So really cool. Love it. Awesome. All right, so that is the first episode of hopefully many of Scrywall Sundays. As I get some of these advanced reading copies of books and products that publishers and companies will send my way, I will show them off on Sunday, so that way you can at least see what they have, even if I never get a chance to read it, which I hope I do read them eventually, but I do want to highlight and promote those things because they are sending it my way, and I want to support them as much as possible. So instead of just having them sit on my shelf, I thought that I could use this opportunity to just kind of give you a sneak peek of what's in here, what you can expect, and try to highlight something in here as well too. So that is the Vaesen Starter Kit, and then the two campaign books or setting books for Vaesen, which is City of My Nightmares and Mythic Carpathia. I think I pronounced that correctly. All from Free League, a fantastic company. So thank you all very much for chiming in or for watching this video. Let me know what you thought about any of this stuff in here, particularly the starter set. I think the starter set is actually a really great selling point for the game because you can grab that and play that probably like, in the same day. You don't have to spend a lot of time reading through it and planning for it and all that. You could probably get that and read through it and prep in like 2 or 3 hours and then run the game later on. So I think the starter set is really cool. But leave a comment about what you thought about these books or starter set. If you have questions or anything like that, I'd be more happy to answer them for you. But thank you for tuning in, and have